Okay, we are back for part 2 of my feminine fragrances list. I feel like I have more fragrances to talk about in this video than I did in the last one, so I'm going to try and move through them a little bit quicker than last time. I also have a caveat for the last video as well, because last night I was actually wearing the Mervelot by Wick & Co. And I just went back onto their website and had another look. And the description that I thought they originally had on their website has completely changed. And I'm not sure, I'm assuming that their website hasn't changed. So I suspect that what it is that I thought that the description I had in my head was something that I had read off their website a while back, and it was completely wrong. Although I still maintain my opinion on the fact that it does kind of smell like an innocent sort of fragrance, but the description on their website has nothing to do with veils and brides and virgins. So I don't know where I got that from. I was convinced that I had read it on their website, but no, I think maybe I had just formulated that view and over time just assumed that that was actually the story behind the fragrance. So I apologize to Wick & Co, although I doubt that they've actually seen this video anyway, but I did direct people to the website. So if you're looking at the website and going, what is she on about? That's why. All right, so today we are covering the last 3 categories of feeling feminine. So the first category for today, which is actually category 3, if you want to be technical about it, is feminine florals. The second category will be feminine at work, which is a really lame title, but I couldn't think of anything better. And then finally, there is a Femme Fatale, which of course is going to be the funnest of all. So yeah, let's go. Let's just do it. So the first one in category 1 is, or category 3, this is really going to get confusing, is La Chasse aux Papillons by L'Artisan Parfumeur. So this is basically all about florals. It's just florals. It's really, really pretty. It's really light and airy. There is linden blossom in here, which this is just the normal, this is just the eau de toilette, but there is an extreme version. And I thought I thought this was the extreme version because I think I was just going off the color of the bottle. But in fact, this is not the extreme version. This is the eau de toilette. And somebody had told me that the extreme version, the linden blossom, is much more noticeable. But I think it's still noticeable in here because I definitely get that sort of... So linden blossom, I think is it the same as lime blossom? And it's supposed to smell kind of citrusy, kind of lemony. So I do get that from here, but I haven't smelled the extreme, so maybe it's much more prominent in the extreme version. But in any case, this is just a really beautiful, pretty, light, airy floral. There's jasmine, there's tuberose, there's... I don't know, I think the descriptor of the florals that are in here is just white florals or something like that. So it's just very flowery. I feel like there's just a hint of a little bit of woodiness in there too, but not much. It's very sort of kind of powdery. You literally smell like you're sitting next to a big bunch of flowers from a florist shop. And it's really, really pretty. I did go through a period of being a little bit obsessed with this fragrance, and I was wearing it pretty much every day. This is a big 100ml bottle too, so it's going to take me quite some time to get through it. And I also have the body cream to go with it, which really does help with the longevity, and I just really, really like this fragrance. The next one is also very much a floral well, they're all floral fragrances, that's the category. But this one sort of also fits in with being very light and airy type of floral, and it's Idylle by Guerlain. This seems to be a bit of a polarizing one. Some people either really love it or really hate it. I really like it. I think it's just very pretty. I think the La Chasse aux Papillons, even though in a way it's kind of lighter, it feels a little bit more grown up. This one feels not young, but it just feels a little bit more whimsical, I suppose you might say, than the other one. And so it has some fruit notes in here. So I think there's lychee and maybe some raspberry notes or something like that. So it does smell kind of pink. But then you've also got peony and lily of the valley and lilac and jasmine, you know, and it's just all on a very musky base basically. So there's not a lot of, I don't sort of get anything woody or anything in here. It's really just all about the flowers and the musk. So it's a musky floral effectively, but very pretty. The next one is another Guerlain fragrance, and this is Rose Barbare or Rose Barbare. I want to say Rose Barbare, but I've seen people or heard people say Rose Barbare. So I'm going to go with that because I'm assuming that I just always assume my pronunciations are wrong, okay? Okay, so this one was not a love for me when I first sniffed it a long time ago. And then one day I went into our department store and I tried it on again, but on the same day I also spritzed some Tonka Imperial. I had Rose Barbare on one hand and Tonka Imperial on the other. And I don't know what it was, but somehow that combination of having the Tonka as well with it just all of a sudden changed this whole fragrance for me, and suddenly I was a little bit obsessed with it. So I really wanted it for a really long time, but I refused to buy it because of in the first instance I didn't love it. And then I was at the Guerlain counter last year talking to the sales assistant there, and she spritzed this on me, and I came home and Matt was just gaga over it. He said, "What are you wearing? It smells really good. You smell really, really good." And it was this. So I resolved to purchase a bottle, and then, was it early this year or late last year? I think it was early this year because I think it was in one of my videos from one of the roundups. Somebody that I know through the Facebook groups was selling this. In fact, it was Amy from Fragrances with Amy. She was selling this one, and it came in the older box. So it's an older formulation, and it was very good price. So I decided to snap it up, and I'm contemplating putting this on now actually because I feel I don't have a scent of the day on yet, and I feel like maybe this might be it. But this is a very, it's kind of an aldehydic rose. It's kind of woody. There's meant to be a honey note in here. There's meant to be fenugreek in here as well. But you know what? I know I've had fenugreek in food, but I can't at the moment put my mind onto what it smells like. So I probably need to go and find some and source it and then smell this again. But I actually kind of don't really love the opening, but I do like it once it dries down, maybe 15 minutes in. I just find the opening, and it could be the aldehydes, it's quite sharp in the opening. So yeah, I'm not sure what it is about the opening that I don't love. Maybe it's actually the rose, but it's quite a different sort of rose fragrance. I don't think I have any other rose fragrances that smell like this. So I'm actually really happy to have this one because I do really like it. And as I said, Matt really loves it too. So yeah, that is Rose Barbare by Guerlain. The next one is a long-time favorite in terms of floral fragrance. And this is the fragrance that actually got me into liking Tuberose. Although this in itself is quite a different tuberose to any other tuberose fragrance that I have. And this is Tuberose in Blue by Altea. I have talked about this before, I'm pretty sure. All I can smell is Rose Barbare now because I spritzed it on. This is a really beautiful, light tuberose. I think it's got freesia and some other white florals in there as well, but you definitely get the tuberose, but it's not a heavy, dense, dank tuberose that normally kind of overpowers everything else. Somehow they've kept it really light, and all the other florals still really contribute to this fragrance really well. And so you don't get just tuberose, you get other things as well. There's also heliotrope in here and some woods. I don't know, is it cedar or sandalwood? Sort of a light kind of wood. It's a little bit creamy, but also powdery. It's just really light, but it lasts really well. It lasts all day long, and it's just very, very palatable. And it's just so pretty. I just feel so feminine and so pretty when I wear this fragrance. Yeah, that's Tuberose in blue. And then finally in this category, I couldn't not talk about this fragrance. This is Poeme by Lancôme. This, it's just so good. It's so good. There's a lot of florals and fruits in here. I feel like it's kind of orangey, not orange, but kind of orange colored fruits or yellow fruits. Like, I think there's a peach note in here. It's a very 90s fragrance. You still get that very 90s vibe from it. It's still very strong actually, even though this is a recent formulation. But in terms of florals, there are white florals and yellow florals in here. But to me, I feel like this is really all about the yellow florals. It smells kind of yellow to me. It smells a little bit tropical. I think there's tiare flower in here. There's definitely ylang ylang, jasmine, tuberose, orange blossom, and lots of other things. I remember when I first looked at the note listing for this a couple of years ago, when I did my very first review of this, which was actually, I filmed the review of this in 2019, but I don't think I posted it until last year. So I just remember there being a really long list of florals in here. So it kind of has a bit of a tropical vibe to it, but it also doesn't smell like a beach fragrance. It doesn't smell necessarily like something you would wear to the beach, you know, because it's also a little bit ambery, a little bit musky. Oh, I really like it. I've forgotten how much I like this fragrance. I really need to wear it more. I've had a little bit of a dent in there, but I definitely need to wear it more often. So the next category is the feminine professional category. And basically these are all the fragrances that I like to wear to work when I go to the office. Or even when I'm just working from home and I want to get into work mode. These are ones that I like to wear when I want to still feel, you know, sort of pretty and feminine, rather than sort of, you know, kick-ass boss lady. I just want to feel I want to feel like a responsible person, like a responsible adult, but still be feminine. So these are the ones that I go to in that scenario. So the first one is 1932 by Chanel. This is part of the Les Exclusives line. This is another aldehydic floral. This is aldehydic white florals. There's some citrus in there, obviously, but it's really kind of all about the white florals, the jasmine in particular. But there's iris in here too. So it's a little bit powdery, even though it has those sort of sparkly aldehydes in the top. But for me, this is really all about the aldehydes, the jasmine, a little bit of the powder from the iris. There's a woodiness in the base here too that I definitely get when it's on my skin. There's meant to be incense as well, but I confess I don't really detect the incense in this fragrance. I just find it to be very light, airy floral, and for me, the floral note that I get the most from this fragrance is the jasmine. But apparently there's other florals in here as well. Anyway, it's very beautiful. It feels very professional, but it's not just a work scent for me. This is one that is feminine, and it has that femininity about it that I feel like if I wear it on the weekend or something, I still feel, you know, like I don't feel like I'm going to work or something like that. So that is that one. The next one is one that I've been talking a fair bit about recently, and I still have yet to do an in-depth review because I still have to get my head around it, but it is 24 Faubourg by Hermès. This is the EDP. Oh, just such heady, powdery florals in here. There's ylang ylang, there's jasmine, I'm guessing tuberose as well. Oh, it's just so good. It does smell sort of older school kind of fragrance, but I still feel very feminine when I wear this, even though it smells more mature, because of the fact that it is just so, I guess, floral, and there's that hint of, you know, the cigarette kind of vibe to it as well, which I thoroughly enjoy. And I don't know, but it just kind of puts me in a mood of, if I want to feel sort of more mature at work or something like that, or be taken more seriously, I feel like if you smell like this, no one, you know, people have to take you seriously, because there's the maturity to this fragrance, and you know, you demand to be at least acknowledged and listened to. So that is 24 Faubourg by Hermès. The next one also needs no introduction per se. This is Ormonde Woman by Ormonde Jane. I talk about this all the time. So good. I was actually tossing, this was a toss-up actually. I was having trouble deciding whether to put this one or Vanille d'Iris in this list, because the Vanille d'Iris is also very feminine. It has a suede note to it, and it's also a very good work scent, very good for work. But this one is just one of those ones, again, it's kind of like the 24 Faubourg. I feel like this is a little bit more mature and kind of demands a little bit of respect when you wear this. Plus, it's very unique to me. Although I'm still trying to track down, a couple of people have messaged me with ideas for, or suggestions for other perfumes to try that they say smells like this, but, or similar to it, but are a lot less expensive. So I am trying to track those down because I'm so curious, because if there is a cheaper option, by all means, I'm willing to try them, but I still have to, I have not yet been able to, I did have a look, I haven't been able to find those particular bottles yet, so I'm still looking. But yeah, again, I mean, Ormonde Jane's just, it's green without being too sharp, it's woody, it's kind of resiny as well, with some little bit of florals in there to just keep it softer. But it also kind of packs a punch as well. I really like it. It's so good, which is why it always appears on my lists, because I really love it. The next one is one that I don't talk about very much. And in fact, I had this bottle for over a year before I actually started wearing it. It was one of those ones that I bought on a whim. I think I was purchasing through Fragrance Net or Fragrance X or one of those quite some time ago, over a year ago now. And it was one of those things that kind of popped up. It was discounted, so I thought, oh well, I'm going to give that a go, because it was a time when I was tracking down oud fragrances to test them out, and I knew that I still wasn't really prepared to try the really heavy hitter oud fragrances, and as it turns out, I'm still not very good with the heavy hitter oud fragrances, but this was just one that I wanted to try, and it was actually quite inexpensive, but I think it's been discontinued now. So that might have also been the reason why I picked it up, because it was discounted, and I think I knew at the time that it may have been discontinued. Maybe it hasn't been discontinued. Am I just making things up? This is Miroir de Majestés by Thierry Mugler. fair to say the only Mugler fragrance that I want to own. I do currently own another one, but that is going very soon. This is really interesting. This has spices in the top, but they're kind of herbally or green kind of spices. So it's cardamom and coriander, I think, in the top. It has a really sweet amber base. There's leather in here as well. And I actually, I think I get the leather just off the bat, but it's not like a leathery leather. It's not, there's a sweetness to this. I think I definitely get lots of benzoin, which is probably from the amber accord, which makes it very sweet, and the sweetness with that leather just works really well actually. I really like this a lot. And then you have some white florals. I think there's primarily orange blossom. I do get orange blossom in here. I think there's meant to be jasmine, but I don't know if I really smell the jasmine in here. And then there's oud in the base, and the oud is quite safe in this fragrance actually. I don't even know if I really detect it as oud. It's just kind of like a dark woodiness in the base. Gives it a bit of depth. But mostly for me, it's about, oh, that lid's coming off. Mostly for me, it's about the suede and the amber and the florals in here. So, and of course you get those spices in the top, but they die down after a little while, and they just make the opening a little bit more interesting. I'm really enjoying this. Like I said, I barely touched it for a year, and then last month I picked it up and I've been wearing it. I don't know if you can really tell, but there is a little bit of a dent in there. And I have been quite enjoying it actually, and it's I find this to be a really good work scent. And then finally for this category, I have another one that I've been talking about a lot lately, and this is Beloved Woman by Amouage. I know I still have to do a full review of this, but honestly, I don't know how to tackle it. I don't know how to describe it. It's floral and leathery and smoky. It smells kind of vintage, but not. It still smells like a more modern perfume, but it still has that, those elements of a kind of vintagey kind of fragrance. It smells warm and juicy, not fruity juicy, but I don't know, like it has body to it, and damp. I don't know. It's so good. I'm working on it. Okay. I've worn it a lot, and I'm still trying to work it out. I just want to do it justice. So, but in any case, I have worn this to work a lot. I've been back in the office for a couple of weeks, and I've been wearing this a fair bit, and no one's complained. If you don't overspray it, it's okay. And it's just, yeah, again, I feel like I feel like no one can not take me seriously when I'm wearing this. All right, we are at the last category for this list videos. This category is the Femme Fatale category, and I feel like I need to go duck out now and put some bright red lipstick on or something, but I'm not going to, because I just need to get this done. Okay, so the first one on the list is Agent Provocateur L'Agent, or I should say L'Agent by Agent Provocateur. This, I don't actually wear this very much because it's so, I don't know, it just smells really naughty. It's the only way to describe it. It does have hints of the original Agent Provocateur fragrance, if you've ever smelled that. I do currently have a bottle of that sitting here, but I'm actually going to declutter it because I actually find that to be a little bit screechy now. This is a lot darker than that. This has got patchouli and myrrh, incense, peppery stuff. It's very woody as well. There's also lots of amber in there. It's not as sweet as I don't know why. I kind of had this vision that it was going to be a bit sweeter than it is, but it's actually not overly sweet. But it just is really dark. You know, you get the vibe of black leather when you smell this. It's quite incredible. It's smoky as well. I'm getting a bit of a smokiness now from what I just spritzed in the air, but wow, it's, again, I struggle to think of a circumstance where it's appropriate to wear this fragrance, but I can't get rid of it because I just find it so intriguing. And yeah, and I don't find this to be screechy like the original was for me. So I quite enjoy this. I have worn it a couple of times, and I've only been able to wear it on really, really cold days in winter, which I live in Brisbane, so it doesn't really get that cold here, but for us, it's cold. But yeah, this is definitely a dark bedroom or cold weather fragrance. The Femme Fatale category could not be complete if I didn't include this one. It is discontinued, although people have been finding it, as I've been told. They've been going out and buying it since I reviewed it last time. I have done a full review of this. This is Gucci Eau de Parfum. This is just so interesting, this fragrance. Incredibly sexy. It's powdery, leathery, musky. It's got some herbal elements in there too. Oh, it's very heady. I love it. I really, really adore it. And again, I don't wear it very much because I feel like it's hard to, I don't know, find an occasion to wear it. I should just wear it. I also sort of don't want to just wear it willy-nilly because I know that I'll never have another bottle of it. But I do really adore this fragrance. The next one, I was in sort of two minds about putting it in this category, but this is Angel's Dust by Francesca Bianchi. And I know there's other fragrances of Francesca Bianchi's that probably would better fit into a Femme Fatale category, but this is the one that I own. It's probably the tamest of the whole line because it's not quite as animalic and in your face as the other ones are. That and Sex and Cineroli, which I also own. But this to me is just it's kind of, it's very powdery and kind of sweet. So it's almost like, I get the vibe of powdered sugar, but with a very sexy undertone, a very animalic base, although I don't think there's that many animalic notes in here specifically, but it's obviously just got that Francesca Bianchi ambery base in it that has all the good stuff. But I do get lots of, as I said, benzoin. Did I say that? I get lots of benzoin, lots of balsamic kind of resiny goodness, sprinkled over with maybe a bit of sugar. It's a bit powdery. Obviously from, there's iris in here, I'm pretty sure it's classified as an iris fragrance actually. And there's other florals in here too, I think, but I don't know what they are. Oh, it's really, really good, but it's, like I say, it's kind of sweet and innocent, but at the same time, you know, very mature, and, you know, you could seduce somebody. This is a seductive perfume because it might draw people in with your seemingly innocent demeanor, and then, you know, there's some carnal knowledge behind it, you know. The next one is Black Orchid by Tom Ford. I don't think any Femme Fatale list could be complete without this, even though I know a lot of people don't like it. I didn't like it either when I first smelled it years ago, and then changed my mind and repurchased a bottle. To me, I get sort of a weird floral, which I think there's, you know, lily and some kind of fantasy orchid accord. I don't know what that means, but I get florals, but I can't really say what florals they are. It's definitely kind of like, I guess, an orchidy, lotusy kind of thing. But there's truffle and chocolate and lots of spices and musk and incense and patchouli and, you know, there's just this, if you read the notes of this, it doesn't come out smelling anything like what you would imagine by reading the notes. And it's very dark, very complicated, and I really love it. I'm addicted to it. 2 more to go. Okay, so this one is Velvet Rose and Oud by Jo Malone. It's only a little bottle, a 10 ml, I think. This is just a really beautiful rose oud fragrance. The rose in here is really sweet but dark and velvety and wet. And the oud, I think the oud is what maybe gives it that darkness, but it's really, I mean, I don't get much more than lots of rose and lots of dark woodiness. That beautiful sort of deep darkness that oud can have without being animalic. Velvet Rose and Oud. Very seductive rose fragrance. So the last one that I want to talk about is actually one that I originally had on my work list, but then I took it off because I felt like a lot of people would disagree with me on that. Although I do wear this to work a lot. But I also thought, it probably fits in this category because there is an element to this fragrance that is a little bit kind of sexy because of the cumin note. And that is So Nude by Costume National. So this is a really lovely tuberose fragrance. It's, but it does have a cumin note in there that does have that kind of BO kind of vibe, but it's very subtle, so it doesn't smell totally skanky, but it's kind of like just on the cusp. And it's just so intriguing and addictive, and when I smell it, I just want to keep smelling it. It is so, so good. But I do feel like this is it is kind of a sexy tuberose, this one. This isn't a punch you in the face kind of tuberose. This is a draw you in, I think I can smell your skin under it type of tuberose. So that is costume. I've talked about this quite a bit, so I'm not going to go on too much about it, but there is also ylang ylang in here and apparently rose. I guess they kind of round out the floral element a bit more, but as with most tuberose or most fragrances that have tuberose in them, sometimes tuberose can really sort of drown out the other florals, and I feel like that's happened here. For me, this is primarily a tuberose fragrance. It's very spicy, a little bit woody, musky, very heady, very addictive. I clearly love this fragrance. I do really adore this fragrance, and I wore this a lot last year, and I wore it day after day after day after day. I just could not get enough of it, so I could not put it on this list. So that rounds out my feminine fragrances list video, part 2. And, you know, I'm sure that there's other categories of femininity that I could have included in here, but you know, I think I ended up with quite a lot of fragrances anyway. But, you know, if people, you know, the reason this whole video started was because somebody asked me to make some recommendations, and these are my recommendations. These are the fragrances that I go to when I want to feel feminine. And I'm curious to know what yours are. So yeah, I'm really curious to hear. So please do continue the discussion down below. I've had some great feedback and comments from the last video and some good suggestions that I'm actually going to check out myself. So thank you very much for those, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.